Hello, this is James from Help Me Help You, and this is our annual civil rights training for the Help Me Help You food pantries. This is a PowerPoint presentation that needs to be reviewed, and then there's an attached civil rights annual training checklist that you have to initial, sign, and send back. There are two levels. Level one is for standard volunteers. Level two is most of you guys, but they consider it supervisors. But I would like to have everybody do level two if you can. And now we'll start with the training. This presentation is visual only. There is no sound. Please review all slides. When finished, complete the checklist, Civil Rights Annual Training Checklist. It is attached. And I am the sound now. Welcome to the annual Civil Rights Training. This is a mandatory training designed for providers and their staff administrating USDA food programs. Today's training will cover civil rights requirements set by USDA for both TFAP and CSFP. The goal of this training is to guarantee services that are available to all beneficiaries in a non-discriminatory manner for any USDA food program. Required training. Providers are required to complete the civil rights training annually. All staff and volunteers assigned to determine program eligibility or handle confidential information of beneficiaries must review and sign the civil rights checklists. In addition, all staff and state agency program manager staff and any provider and lead program volunteers at any distribution sites must review and complete the civil rights presentation. Common terms: USDA, United States Department of Agriculture; TFAP, the Emergency Food Assistance Program; state agency, the California Department of Social Services agency designated to administer TFAP and CSFP at the state level. Providers, any agency administering USDA food programs on behalf of the state agency. Beneficiaries, any individual who wishes to apply, participate, or receive benefits for any of the USDA food programs. It can be a client, an applicant, current beneficiary, returning agenda topics, definition of civil rights, legal authorities, protected classes, public notification, non-discrimination statement, language access for individuals with limited English proficiency, reasonable accommodation mandates, faith-based organization requirements, procedures for civil rights complaints, customer service and conflict resolution, civil rights compliance review, racial and ethnic data collection. Training objectives. At the completion of this training, you will be able to define all the protected classes, prevent discrimination based on any of the protected classes at the distribution site, understand civil rights mandated requirements, identify requirements for serving individuals with limited English proficiency, understand accommodations required for serving individuals with disabilities, identify requirements for data collection. Civil rights information. Why is this training required? TFAP and CSFP programs receive federal funding from USDA. Therefore, it is required to follow the federal civil rights requirements. What are providers responsible for regarding civil rights mandates? Providers must create a system for responding to clients' complaints on the basis of perceived or actual discrimination. What are civil rights? Civil rights are the rights of individuals to receive equal treatment and to be free from unfair treatment or discrimination based on established legally protected classes. Civil rights are guaranteed by the 13th and 14th Amendment of the Constitution and the Acts of Congress. Civil rights through legal authorities. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 made it illegal to discriminate on the basis of race, color, or national origin. Civil Rights Restoration Act of 1967 clarified the broad scope of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Americans with Disabilities Act prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in all areas of public life. The Rehabilitation Act, Section 504 and 508, offer protection to people with disabilities and requires federal agencies to make electronic and information technology accessible. Title IX of the Education Amendments Act of 1972 prohibits discrimination based on sex under any education program. The Age Discrimination Act of 1975 prohibits discrimination based on age. What is discrimination? Discrimination is the unjust treatment of different categories of people or objects, intentionally, by neglect, by the actions or lack of actions based on the protected classes. Protected classes. There are 6 protected classes for filing a discrimination complaint against a food and nutrition federal program. Discrimination is prohibited against any beneficiary based on race, color, national origin, sex, disability, or age. Examples of discrimination. Few examples of discrimination with food programs could include refusing or neglecting to do any of the following: announcing the program publicly so that all eligible people are aware of the program, providing program information in languages other than English, providing beneficiaries with information on how to file a complaint, providing reasonable accommodations as necessary. Public notification requirements. Any provider administering TFAP or CSFP programs must include a public notification system. The purpose of a public notification system is to inform applicants, beneficiaries, and eligible individuals of these programs, including benefits, eligibility, criteria, times, and locations. Components of public notification. Providers are responsible for ensuring the public notification components are met, announcing program availability, informing beneficiaries and potential eligible individuals of their program rights and responsibilities, as well as steps necessary for participation. Procedure to file complaint must be available. Advising the beneficiaries on how to file a complaint of discrimination if needed. Ensuring the non-discrimination statement is included on program materials. Providers must include all materials that are produced for public information, public education, and public distribution. Prominently display the USDA and Justice for All poster. This poster should not be placed in a locked office away from clients. Non-discrimination statement. The non-discrimination statement guidelines must be available in other languages. The entire statement cannot be changed, must be printed and posted in all electronic materials, including websites. Hard copies should be available at each distribution site in case beneficiaries request information on how to file a complaint with the USDA. Essential program materials. Essential program materials are printed or electronic and include information pertaining to participation or obtaining benefits from the USDA food programs. The non-discrimination statement must be included on all essential materials, including but not limited to program applications, notifications of eligibility or ineligibility, expiration of eligibility notices, consent forms, notice of rights and responsibilities, disciplinary action notices, letters requiring a response from the beneficiary, any program material that is critical for participation in the program. Whoa. Skipping. Short non-discrimination statement. If program materials are too small to permit the full statement, a short version of the non-discrimination statement may be used. The full and short statements are available at this website. English version. This institution is an equal opportunity provider. The short non-discrimination statement must meet the following guidelines. Same font and size as the main text, cannot be modified, only include non-essential program materials. And Justice for All poster. Each agency distribution site or certification site administering any USDA food programs are required to prominently display the appropriate and Justice for All poster where it can be easily viewed by clients. Translations into several languages are available online if needed. Use the latest version, AD 475A. Poster must be displayed in a specific size, 11-inch width, 17-inch height. Contact your assigned CDSS program consultant to request additional copies. Limited English proficiency. Providers administrating any of the USDA food programs must provide meaningful access to programs, information, and services for individuals with limited English proficiency, as defined by the U.S. Department of Justice. Limited English proficiency individuals are persons who do not speak English as their primary language or have limited ability to read, write, speak, and understand English. Languages access at distributions. A few examples providing access to services for individuals with limited English proficiency may include provide interpreters and bilingual staff on site, telephonic language interpretation, provide materials in different languages, print materials with commonly used phrases. The more frequent the contact with a particular language group, the more likely enhanced language services are needed. Just want to pause everything. Now we're going to start. Reasonable accommodations. A few examples of making reasonable accommodations might include modifying existing facilities to make them accessible or usable for individuals with disabilities, acquiring or modifying equipment, providing qualified readers or interpreters, providing spaces for sitting, reminding beneficiaries that an alternate can pick up on their behalf. Americans with Disabilities Act mandates. The American with Disabilities Act prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in all areas of public life. ADA mandates to provide reasonable modifications or adjustments to enable individuals with disabilities to have equal access to benefits or services. The goal is to ensure equal access to food distribution programs for individuals with disabilities and making reasonable accommodations to provide the same level of service. Faith-based organizations. The goal for all providers is to ensure equal opportunity to all beneficiaries. Any faith-based organization administering USDA food programs must follow specific requirements. General information for faith-based organizations. Faith-based organizations administering USDA food cannot use federal funds to support religious activities, cannot require beneficiaries to participate in any faith-related activity at distribution sites in order to receive program benefits, do not have to remove any religious symbols at distribution sites. Provider restrictions. Beneficiaries have the right to report violations of these protections, may not discriminate against beneficiaries on base of religion or religious belief, may not encourage beneficiaries to attend or participate in any religious activities that are offered by the organization, must separate in time or location any religious activities from activities supported by the financial assistance. USDA discrimination complaints. USDA prohibits discrimination against any beneficiary when obtaining services from USDA or participating in any USDA food programs. Beneficiaries may file a complaint directly with the USDA within 180 days of the alleged discriminatory action. Beneficiaries may file a complaint by completing the complaint form or by writing a letter via mail, fax, or email. Providers shall not interfere or prevent beneficiaries from making civil rights complaints. Beneficiaries can submit a civil rights complaint verbally or in writing. Providers should handle a civil rights complaint as follows. Providers must give beneficiaries a copy of non-discrimination statement at the time of the complaint. Providers should inform beneficiaries of their option to file a complaint with USDA directly. USDA civil rights complaint forms should be available for the beneficiary at the distribution site if necessary. Providers should assist the beneficiaries in completing the complaint form. Providers must document the complaint in a log with information relevant to investigate and resolve the complaint. This log must be separate from other program-related complaints and maintained for 3 fiscal years plus the current year. If beneficiaries submit the complaint form directly to the provider must mail it to the USDA within 180 days if the alleged action, should be of the alleged action. If a beneficiary submits a verbal complaint, the provider must forward the complaint to the USDA from the alleged action. Provider must notify their CDSS program consultant of any civil rights complaints within 2 days of learning about the complaint. This is the complaint form. Customer service. Customer service is an important part of handling complaints. To provide quality customer service, staff should ensure program is available to all, treat everyone equally with respect and politeness, evaluate if there are barriers preventing individuals from receiving benefits and try to eliminate them. Be understanding and a good listener. Offer assistance. Serve beneficiaries in a timely manner. Apologize for any inconvenience. Conflict resolution. Providers should follow the conflict resolution techniques when handling complaints to ensure optimal resolutions. Conflict resolution techniques include remain calm, non defensive, and respectful in all interactions. Recognize and respond to things that matter. Ensure fairness at all times. Sync compromise with program regulations. If resolution is not achieved, seek a neutral individual to assist with resolving the conflict. Review the situation with supervisors to review strategies for addressing future conflicts. Provider compliance review. During the provider's compliance review, a CDSS program consultant will verify all regulations are being followed regarding civil rights. Areas that will be reviewed include providers' procedures to handle a civil rights complaint, availability of civil rights complaint log, proper display of the And Justice for All posters, non-discrimination statements available on all program materials, documents of completion of annual civil rights training for staff and volunteers, racial and ethnic data collection. Providers administrating the CSFP program must establish a system to collect racial and ethnic information from beneficiaries. The reason for collecting this information is to ensure the program is administered in a non-discriminatory manner. Self-identification or self-reporting of this information is the preferred method. The beneficiary's response will not affect the enrollment or participation in the program. In addition, this information will be protected under the Privacy Act. If beneficiaries decline to self-identify, providers should inform beneficiaries that a visual identification of their race and ethnicity will be made and recorded. Providers shall collect this information for any beneficiary receiving a food package during the month of April each year. Data collection should be added on the FNS 191 Racial and Ethnic Group Participation Form and submitted to the CDSS in May. Knowledge scenarios. Now that civil rights regulations and complaints have been reviewed, it's time to check your knowledge acquired through this training. The next set of questions will address possible scenarios providers and staff may encounter while administering USDA food programs. Check for learning. 1. Scenario. An individual in a wheelchair complained that the site where he was told to pick up his food is not accessible to local public transportation. Question. What steps could be taken in this scenario? How can this person be accommodated? Possible solutions. Provide information on how to file a complaint if the person wishes to do so. Offer home delivery services if available. Provide information of a distribution site closer to public transportation, or ask the beneficiary to appoint a proxy. Check for learning. 2. Scenario. A beneficiary tries to speak with a volunteer at a food distribution site in a language other than English, but the volunteer does not understand the beneficiary and the beneficiary leaves without being served. How should that situation have been handled by the volunteer? Possible solutions. The volunteer should know the site's protocol in serving persons with LEP, which vary by site. If the site has telephonic interpretation available, the volunteer would follow the protocol to access it. If the site has bilingual staff, the staff would work with the manager to get the person with the LEP to that bilingual staffer. Scenario 3. A reviewer from the state visits a TFAP distribution site and sees the Injustice for All poster displayed in the manager's office, which is located in an area that is off limits to program applicants and beneficiaries. Question: is this a civil rights violation? Why or why not? Answer: yes, this is a civil rights violation. Per regulations, the And Just for All poster must be prominently located where program applicants and beneficiaries can view it. The poster must be displayed at the point of service. Certificate of completion. Review the entire FDU 113 Civil Rights Annual Training Checklist. Initial where indicated. On the last page, sign, date, the level 1 and level 2 training certification. We're going to pull up the form so you guys can get a look at it. Hello, here's a copy of the Civil Rights Annual Training Checklist that you can print separately from this email, or if you don't have access to printing, pick it up on your next day volunteering and we'll have them for you to initial and sign here at the warehouse. Simple questions, the types of discrimination, and then you can read through these different types and then initial it. The same thing goes for all of these questions. The real important part is going to come down on page 4, level 1 training certification and level 2 training certification. A lot of you interact with the people more than some of the other agencies do. So I'm suggesting everybody look at the level 2 certification. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact James via email at james@helpmehelpyou.org or via text at 562-518-9763. And you can also call there. Thank you, and please continue to come and support us. How you guys going to edit?